Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Baking with Paul. Today we're going to be making mini Filo Pastry Quiches, and I'm just going to preheat the oven ready for later to 180 gas mark 4 if you're using gas. Let's get going.
Hello, welcome to Baking. It's me, Jack.
And it's me, Paul.
And this week we're making mini Filo Pastry Quiches.
Quite a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah, you found that one. You find that one challenging, don't you? Mini Filo Pastry Quiches.
I do.
Say that one 10 times fast.
There's a few outtakes. So here's our chopping board on top of a tea towel.
And the tea towel, remember, it stops that chopping board from sliding around while we're cutting. So we went for pre-made Filo pastry. We don't think it's worth the effort for the actual difference that you would get from making your own.
Absolutely.
If you want to make your own, you can do, but the stuff from a bag is perfectly good.
A lot of top chefs tell you not to bother because it's just not worth the effort.
Here we go. So we're unrolling it now onto our chopping board.
We are.
And you were saying the recipe goes for quarters, but you might have even gone smaller than that.
I think I would have gone a little bit smaller. It was a little bit too fiddly when I was putting it into the muffin tray, and there's quite deep muffin trays as well. So I'd go a little bit less. So you'll see I quarter it. I probably would have took a little.
Maybe go for sixths, or just even.
I maybe would have just cut a little bit more off, like about another further half an inch off the sides.
Right.
Of them ones. So it was a little bit more square, a little bit less big.
And we're covering that with a damp tea towel on a clean surface just to keep the pastry from drying out, so it's still workable when we come to it.
Yeah, you don't want it to dry up because it will dry up very quickly, Filo pastry.
And we've got our fillings here. It's got some ham, some cherry tomatoes, some spinach and some lovely parsley, as well as a fantastic mature cheddar.
Pre-grated cheese.
Pre-grated. You can buy your own block and grate it yourself if you want to, or use whatever you've got in.
Yeah. I mean,
and you're going to quarter these cherry tomatoes.
Quarter the tomatoes, so you want all the ingredients to be roughly the same size.
Right. So they cook nice and evenly, and also when you're taking a bite, you're not getting too much of anything.
Yeah, you want an even bite of each ingredient.
So make sure everything's roughly the same sort of size. That's great.
Yeah. And you don't need that many cherry tomatoes because they'll take up a lot of room.
We're only doing mini quiches here, guys. You know, they're as small as a cupcake, so you know, less is more in a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from the cheese,
you can always do with a bit more.
You can always go a little bit more cheese, as we found out.
we're gonna cube up our ham now.
Yep. So you just want to cut it in half and then put it on top, half it again, and then little small cubes.
Perfect. And you know, if you are vegetarian and you don't want to add ham, that's fine. If there's a topping you really like and you want to add,
you could use corn ham.
You can use corn or some meat replacement. Yeah. You can add mushrooms, I think the recipe says, but we didn't go for that in the end.
We didn't have any,
so we just didn't go for it. That's okay.
I fold the parsley up nice and neatly so it makes it easier to chop. Just chop it up nice.
Finely chopped herbs, lovely.
Just watch your fingers, be very careful if you're chopping it yourself.
If you don't feel confident with a knife, please ask someone to chop it for you, because the best thing is to just stay safe.
And you just want a few leaves of spinach as well, because again, you don't want to overload your quiches. So,
and you've folded that spinach together there, so it makes it easier to hold on to when you chop it.
Pretty much the same way as I did with the parsley, just so you get nice little strips of spinach.
Perfect.
And then, as you can see, I've got all my ingredients ready to go on a chopping board. There's your cheese already pre-grated, so you can put everything else aside.
Look at that lovely little pile of ingredients.
Yep. I think we're ready to start making our little muffins. Oh.
In comes the milk.
Yep.
And then you've got a measuring jug, and of course, quiche's main ingredient is some lovely eggs. How many eggs are we going for here?
I think it's 5 large eggs.
Make sure you get any shell out.
But what I would suggest is don't do what I did and add the eggs first, because it makes a nightmare to measure out your milk. I should have measured out the milk first and then added the eggs.
So you want 100 millilitres or
So
3.4 fluid ounces
of milk.
So yeah, that's a good tip there. When your jug's empty, it's much easier to measure your milk.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing where your eggs are.
I think I'd realised when I went for that 5th egg, I was like, oh, let's see what I've done.
I believe we have a solution for that problem, don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll see. So just washing your hands because you've got a bit of egg on the fingers. That's okay. Make sure you dry them.
Yep.
We're not properly washing our hands there. That's why it was so quick. Just rinsing the egg off. And then we've got a second measuring jug.
We did.
Measure out the 100 mils.
We did. Very fortunate in the Ark where we've got an influx of jugs.
So there we go, pointing to the 100 milliliter line.
Yep.
And that's it, just top it up there.
There we go.
Perfect.
And whole milk's better because it's more creamy.
Right. So
It gives a better taste.
If you've got semi-skimmed, that's okay. If you've
Yeah, it
got
will
skimmed,
be fine.
it will be alright, but whole milk is just going to add a lot more flavour to your egg mixture for your quiches, so
Yes.
it's preferred. What we didn't do here, which we will do later, but you should at this point season
Yes.
your egg mixture. Add
Salt,
some salt
pepper.
and some pepper.
Yes.
Um,
It's one thing I missed out on.
we made up
which
for it
is-
later on, but that's okay, and you might make up for it later on as well. But if you can add it now, that'd be great. It's just
Yeah.
going to make it taste that much better.
Always season as you go, which is a crucial part of baking and cooking,
There we
which
go.
I forgot in
That's
this
okay.
stage.
So we're whisking away there. We want to get a bit of air in, and we want to make sure there's no streaks of egg left. You want
Yeah.
it to look all the same. Are we ready to go? We're going to
think we are.
transfer over. Whoa!
So
There we
have
go.
all your ingredients ready close by.
So jug off to one side, ingredients ready, and this is going to take a while now. We're going
This
to
does
start
take a while.
layering in phyllo pastry. So we get some cooking spray.
If you didn't have cooking spray, you could use a pastry brush and a little bowl of olive oil and just
Or
as you go.
vegetable oil.
Yeah. As long as you got something to grease it up, that's fine. You could have melted butter.
And you just want a very small amount on each layer.
Just a small amount,
You really don't need to use a lot.
just to grease it up, and then you want to start lining up your lining your baking trays. And as you can see, this is why I was saying it could have done with being a little bit smaller, because it goes over slightly,
But what you're doing is you're getting a square of pastry.
and just gently pushing it into the bottom. You
and
don't
just
want
push
to
it
break.
into the bottom.
You don't want to tear the pastry either.
Exactly.
So just be gentle with your fingertips.
Yeah. The main thing is making sure that bottom stays intact, because if
Yeah.
it doesn't, your eggs are going to come out the bottom and it's all going to go rubbish.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do tear one, don't worry about it too much. You can just add another layer in, which we're going to do anyway, and try not to tear the new layer.
I think these have 3 layers in anyway, don't they?
There you go. This is going to be happening for quite a while now, guys.
So it's just a base. You just have to repeat the process.
You can,
In
if you
each
want to
tray.
get really fancy, lightly wet your fingers and fold the edges together, and they'll stick to each other.
Why didn't you tell me that at the time? Could have done that.
Could have made some fancy patterns.
I could have. Oh well. You
So
live
yeah,
and you
with a
learn.
little bit of water, the pastry will stick to itself. So if you wanted to make patterns around the edge to kind of fold the edges in, you could do that if you feel confident. If not, you can just go for a lovely rustic look, which is what Paul decided to do here.
I think I might try that in the future, you know.
Kind of crimp it together
Yeah, I think
like a
that's a good
dumpling or
idea.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why Paul started in the corners and then went for the middles. Have you got any reasoning behind that?
No, I just like crazy.
Just fancied it.
You know what I'm like.
It's fair enough. I can't really say I blame you.
I think I just like to. I don't like to conform with ordinary society. I just like to be a bit out there and a bit rogue.
I mean, you know, within reason.
Yeah.
I think now is a good moment to mention as well, guys, that we don't speed any of these processes up, and that's so that you can try and cook along with us.
Yeah, I'll follow it and
You know, we'd love it to hear if any of you are cooking along at the same time as watching our videos.
I
which
think
you can
it'd be a
watch
good
anytime.
idea if some people, if they follow along and try these recipes, send in some pictures.
Oh, we'd love
for the
to see
weekly
that. We
catch-up.
would absolutely love to see
That'd be great.
pictures of what you baked or pictures of you baking.
Even if it's not necessarily what I've done or following our recipes, if you've baked
If you've
anything,
cooked something different, that's okay.
you know, I'd like to see pictures of your bread. If you followed the bread one and you've had a go, please send them in.
Absolutely. Or even just a little message to let us know what you do or don't like about the video, or that you were baking. If you don't want to be in the catch up or whatever, that's okay. But we'd love to still hear from you. you know, feel free to get in contact. We'd love to hear.
It'd be nice.
But anyway, so as you can see, this takes a little while. It takes a lot less time if you've got someone to help you with this, because you can each do 6. So once you've got your first layer down, it's more spray. So every time you're adding a layer, you're going to make sure to spray it with your cooking spray.
Yep. And even at the end, I think I sprayed it again.
On top, yeah.
Yeah.
And what the cooking spray does, or the brushed oil or whatever, is it's allowing that pastry to cook and become crisp, and also create little pockets of air in between the layers of pastry.
It helps it colour as well.
Yeah, helps it get a darker colour. There you go, it's a couple of sprays, and then we're ready for the next round of pastry sheets.
Get ready, guys. It's intense.
It's not really intense. This is a very easy process.
It's just very time consuming.
Gotta watch what you're saying, Paul. Gonna give people the wrong idea. Saying things like intense. Anyway, but yeah, we're just adding those sheets of pastry in one by one. You know, I know for a fact if I was making this recipe, I'd be tempted to add them more than one at a time. But if you do that, it's just going to turn out soggy, and it's not necessarily going to cook properly. You've got to make sure you add them one by one with the oil in between.
Yes.
Here we go. We're almost approaching the halfway mark for pastry. Try not to fall asleep, Paul. It's alright, mate. Another top tip from me, have a bit of music on while you're cooking. Keep yourself entertained, have a little boogie.
You know I like that.
Or make it a game. You can do 6, someone else can do 6, you can have a little race.
Yeah.
There you go. You can see Paul's just getting his fingers into the bottom to make sure everything's nice and flat and fit into the shape of the tin.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's pushed down. You don't want it just like sat on top so there's air at the bottom.
The thing is, if there's air at the bottom, the egg won't get in that space, and you'll just have a bump where there's no filling.
Well, I think it might get soggy as well, and the egg will burst out the bottom.
There you go, you don't want that.
I think that happened one time as well.
There you go, baking with Paul, making the mistakes so that you don't have to.
Yeah, I've made loads of mistakes, but that's part of baking and having fun with it.
That's okay, we learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely. You know, that's why I love baking, because you can make mistakes, you can, you know, fix them. They're usually easily fixed.
I think that was the halfway point there as well, by the way. I think we're almost there now.
I think it is.
The end is in sight. Keep adding in that pastry, keep layering it in.
Yeah.
And just to warn you guys, if you can hear anything in the background, we're sorry about that. We are in a working day centre, so you know, sometimes people are moving around in the background. Maybe you can't hear it, but that's okay. Just to warn you, you might hear a few bits. But yeah, here we go. So we're almost on the second layer of pastry.
I think I realised to stay a bit more in uniform in this one, and I went in rows instead of being sporadical and just going from one corner to another corner.
Well, I would recommend going in rows, because the main thing is you don't want to forget that you've done one and miss it out and then have less layers in that one.
That's why I started to do rows, because I found it easier to keep track of where they're done and not done.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You're looking at it sometimes and you're thinking, have I done that one? So yeah, if you do these, go in rows.
Yeah,
because it makes it easier to follow and track where you've put.
And try and do the same rows each time, so you know where you're up to each time.
Yeah, because I think you'll find the finish in the bottom left. My bottom left corner, and start in the top left corner.
Here we go. So we're going for another spray, and then it's going to be that third and final layer that we went for. I will warn you guys now. In a minute, it's going to cut to a slightly further along part of the process. We didn't want to speed it up, but our camera battery did die. So you'll see that in a few moments.
So I think I go halfway through the top layer, don't I?
I think so, yeah. So anyway, so we're working on that top layer, starting at the front on the right for us.
This is our final layer.
And you can see they're starting to look really fluffy, and there's lots of layers of pastry there. That's what you kind of want. You want lots of different layers. You can kind of fold them together.
And mean, don't worry about this part because you can fix it later when you're ready to put the egg in. And the ham and the tomato that you're adding later will weigh it down as well.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much about the sides at this point because you can fix it just before you're ready to add all your other ingredients.
I don't know about you, Paul, but I'm starting to get a little bit hungry.
I am as well.
I remember tasting these mini quiches afterwards. Absolutely fantastic.
They were quite good.
Yeah, I was a big fan. They were absolutely amazing.
They were. I think Sarge was a fan as well.
Yeah. Here we go. See, it just cut there. That was when our camera battery ran out. We got to, me and Paul are both going to take equal blame there. Paul didn't charge. I didn't charge. We forgot. We thought we had time, and then it just died on us. But anyway. So we've jumped slightly ahead, but we're still at roughly the same point in the process. And you might have some pastry left over. If you wanted to go for a fourth layer, you can do. But we think
three's more than enough.
3 is like kind of the sweet spot where you've got enough, but not too much. But if you're a big fan of pastry, maybe you're going to go for 4.
I mean, you could alternatively keep them to one side and make little Filo feta and spinach wraps.
Well, that sounds like another video to me, Paul.
It does. They're quite nice, then.
There we go.
I think we might have to do them.
We'll have to see. Anyway, so here we go. We're almost there. Final round. In it goes.
There we go.
Push it right the way down to the bottom. Keep it nice and folded in tight. And then I think we're going to hit it with the last of the cooking spray. We make sure they're all nice and open. The main thing is you don't want the corners folding in on them.
No, that's why I kept on going back to some of them because they folded back in on themselves.
Here we go. You can see.
That's it. You
perfect
can see
little
nice.
cups.
Ready for the pastry? Egg. Sorry, I've been talking a lot about pastry, so pastry's on the brain.
There you go. And you've got your fillings there.
Yep.
And your jug of eggs. So you're going first with the spinach into each one.
Yeah, just put a little bit of spinach in the bottom.
Whatever feels like the right amount of spinach to you.
Yeah, you just
At
want
the end of the day.
You just want to portion off enough spinach, like enough of ingredients.
And you can see there some of the pastry fell in. You just pulled that back out again.
Yeah. So even quantities of each ingredient. I think I had a little bit more ham than I wanted.
That's okay. If you have too much ham, put the ham to one side and use it for something else.
You can. But just drop a few bits of each of them in there. And just make sure it's all equal.
There we go. And just a reminder from earlier, if you want to use different toppings, different fillings, whatever, that's fine.
Absolutely
fine.
You can use a bit of chicken.
Make these your own. Use whatever leftovers you've got in the house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go too crazy. I don't think I'll be adding spaghetti bolognese, but if you do end up trying something like that, please let us know. And here we go with the tomatoes. So you got some leftover ham, that's okay.
Yeah.
You will see there's going to be 2 that don't get tomatoes. They were my ones. I'm not a big fan of a whole tomato.
He doesn't like tomatoes.
I do like tomatoes cooked into things, but not a big fan of a chunk of tomato in my life. Oh, you've decided to go back for a bit more ham.
I did. I think these were your ones, so I was like, he's missing a bit of tomato, so I'll just put a bit more ham.
You're good to me.
I am.
There we go. A few other ones are getting a bit of extra ham there.
The one thing I would have said about this is I went a little bit too easy on the cheese.
So go a bit heavy on the cheese.
Go heavy on the cheese. It adds a lot of flavour.
The other thing is it might feel like you're filling it slightly too much. The cheese will melt down and fit into the cup more.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much. I'd say go for two pinches of cheese per.
Yeah, I think I should have gone a little bit more heavy.
Per quiche.
I think what I was meant to do is when after I added the egg, I wanted to add a bit more cheese on top.
On top, ooh, give
But
it
I
a
forgot.
crispy, cheesy top.
Yeah, I forgot to do that.
Here we go. We're just adding our egg mixture in now. That's why we recommend mixing it in a jug, because it allows you to easily pour it into the quiches. And you just want to come up to the top of the tin, don't you?
Yeah. If I had another suggestion for this recipe, is I don't think the mixture of egg and milk is quite what you want. I think you need about another egg and a bit more milk.
You wanted a bit more mixture here.
Yeah. Because I think I ran out slightly with the mixture.
That might vary if you're using smaller pastry or using a smaller muffin tin.
Yeah.
But basically, it's not a bad idea to make a bit extra. You can always make a bit extra after if you find you don't have enough.
So with these, it's a bit different to when you was making a cupcakes. Is you can fill these pretty much to the top of the muffin tin.
And that's why the camera off to bring it in. Show you guys the sprinkling of the parsley. The main thing is make sure the egg mixture isn't near the edges of the pastry, otherwise it will pour out.
Yeah, you don't want it running over.
Straight in. Look at that lovely quiche. And here it is, ready to go into the oven. So this is the point at which we're going to add some salt and pepper because we forgot to earlier. But hopefully you've added yours to your egg mixture.
It's a lot better if you add it to your egg mixture, as we found out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were nice.
It just helps it to season all the way through.
Yeah.
You can also season your tomatoes, your spinach, your ham. You know, a little bit of salt and pepper in all the ingredients is not going to go. It's not going to hurt the dish. It's just going to add a little bit of more flavour.
Yeah. It just makes all your ingredients pop, and that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah. Tomatoes love a little bit of salt. Egg loves a bit of salt. You know, it just helps season it and make all them ingredients pop.
It brings the flavours alive.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we're using pre-ground pepper because that's what we had to hand. But if you've got freshly ground black pepper, that's much better.
It is.
You get a much brighter flavour, much more intense.
Absolutely.
But pre-ground is absolutely fine. If that's or white pepper is okay as well if that's what you prefer to use. Always be careful with white pepper; it's a little bit more spicy than black pepper, I find.
Do you know what I would have liked on these? That's that little bit of chili flake.
Oh yeah, me and you love a bit of chili though. That's the thing. Not everyone does. And here we are. We're ready to go into the oven. Do you remember what temperature that was?
I think it was 180 again.
Okay, there we go. And as usual, they're going to randomly, magically cook themselves at any moment now. There we go. So you're just looking for a nice browning on top of the eggs there.
A nice golden brown.
And then the pastry will have started to change colour.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think ours could have even gone for a little bit longer.
I think they could have gone a little bit longer myself as well.
You know, that's okay. They were cooked all the way through. They were solid. That's the main thing. You can usually tell if the egg mixture is still wobbly, then it's not cooked.
Yeah.
You want it to have gone firm. We waited a little while they were in the tin to help us get them out of the tin. And then we put them... In fact, no, did we let them cool in the tin? We did.
We let them cool in a tin, and I think that was a bit of a mistake. I think we should have taken them out.
Put them on a cooling rack.
Because the pastry got a bit soggy on the bottom.
Or eat them immediately. Yeah. And look how pretty they are. Look how
they look great. They look amazing.
They look absolutely beautiful.
They're well worth having a go.
And thank you so much for watching again. We'll be back in another week with another video.
Thank you again.
Thank you for watching along, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you soon, guys.
Please have a go and let us know if you do try any of these recipes.
And send in pictures.
Bye bye.